Alright, grade 7. So today we're going to be looking at the difference between potential energy and kinetic energy. You'll find this in your textbooks on page number 103 and 104. Alright, but before we move on, we need to make sure that we know exactly what a system is made up of. Alright, and we have to know the difference between an input, a process, and an output. So you would have learned this in grade 6 when you were doing circuits, but this applies to potential and kinetic energy as well, and we can also use an example of a circuit having potential and kinetic energy. Alright, so what you're going to be learning about is stored energy called potential energy. We'll also look at the measure of energy and how energy in moving things is called kinetic energy. Alright, so firstly, what is a system? So you should remember from previous grades that a system is made up of parts that work together. So these parts can be also referred to as components, like in a circuit you have a light bulb, a battery or a cell, and a switch. And systems need energy to work. Alright. So firstly, starting with potential energy. So potential energy is stored energy. Alright, so if I'm going to just play this video for you. And we'll see the difference between potential and kinetic energy. So we know that potential energy is stored energy. So if we look at the difference between this, the men over here, we'll see here that potential energy is stored energy that is not moving. It is stationary and has yet the potential to move. Kinetic energy is released when an object moves. Alright, so potential energy, as we see, the man's laying down and he's not currently moving, but he has the potential to move. Alright, so it's waiting to be released. So as Jeff starts to walk, alright, he is now converting the potential energy, which is the food that he ate, maybe the previous evening, and while he walks, he converts that energy. Another example is now a ball placed on top of a wall. So you see that the ball fell off the wall. We'd say that the potential energy is when the football is stationary on top of the wall, alright, and the kinetic energy is once that ball falls off the wall and it starts to move, it gains kinetic energy. Alright, and there you can see the difference again, the potential energy, and as soon as it falls off, it is kinetic energy. Right, grade 7. So, important thing to remember now is just that when something is stationary, it has potential energy. Alright. For example, the textbook on your table, if you were to pick it up and hold it in your hands, it now has potential energy. As soon as you drop that textbook, it becomes kinetic energy. So there's an energy transfer that takes place. The same applies to an elastic band. So if you just stretch the elastic band, you store potential energy into the elastic band. As soon as you release the band, it converts it to kinetic energy, which then travels. As I said in the beginning, we can make an example of an electric circuit. So in the case of the stored energy, that will be inside the battery in the form of chemical energy. All right, and then as soon as we switch the circuit on, the energy then flows from the battery through the light bulb and then back into the battery. So then we can say that there's a kinetic flow of energy through the circuit. Right, and then lastly, we just have to know that energy is measured in joules. In the case of electric circuits, it's measured in watts. But on page number 104, you'll see that anything that you eat has a kilojoule count at the back. So you know exactly how much energy you were consuming. All right, and we need energy in order to survive. So usually it's about 6,000 kilojoules for a female and 8,000 kilojoules for a male. And this is pretty much what you need to continue our daily activities. So to be able to get up, come to school, learn, and then also the resting metabolic rate stuff. So your heart beating, your breathing consistently, your brain thinking, etc. All this uses up energy, and we need this energy, and we get this energy through food. So you'll see that there's nutritional values on page number 104, and this will all help you answer activity 1 on page 104. And then also activity 2, please, when you move on to kinetic energy, just look at those pictures there in that table, and then you have to tell me whether it is potential or kinetic energy. The one that may catch you off guard is something maybe like the candle. Don't think of the flame, think of what the candle is. Alright, so don't think of the flame moving and saying that it's kinetic energy. Think of what is the candle made out of and what would that be considered. Alright, grade 7. So if you don't understand, please feel free to email me, ask me questions, and I'll help you out. But the biggest thing to remember now is that potential energy is stored, and then kinetic energy is as soon as something is released or kicked, converted energy or dropped converted energy from potential energy into kinetic energy, referred to as moving energy.